So, with the year coming to an end, I just wanted to make a video talking about what is my goal for next year, right? Being that I have been programming for about, this would make it the second year because I think I really got into it 2020, no, 2019, and then this being 2021 is going to be the second year that I've been programming for. So next year will be the starting of the third year. So with all my projects that I've done in the past 2 years, I have seen myself grow. Because I remember the first video I ever made was for the computer to tell me whether or not it was a leap year, right? And to do that, I was in C++. This was back when I used to use C++ a lot. But I never really developed that language. But anyways, so it was a C++, and then the computer was asked to check the year, right? And then based on that year input, it would divide it by 4 and then see whether or not it was a leap year, right? So it wasn't really that advanced. It was pretty simple. And now for me, it was really advanced. It was like the most mind-blowing project I have ever worked on because it was my first. For me to be able to do that, it was really special to me, right? Then I moved on, right? The second hardest project I ever worked on was, I think, this mini Iron Man game. I was so proud of it because that was the first, I don't know if it's the first time, but that's the first time I remember using a module. Like a module that I didn't make myself, right? Because usually back then, all I really used was built-in stuff like the OS module and stuff like that. But for me to import another module like Turtle and to be able to program it and use classes with it and then work with the objects, it was mind blowing because I created something out of nothing. It's just like wow. And then the next biggest project I worked on was, I think, this game called Invested, which was meant to be an investing game because the investing game was huge, right? It was meant to be an investing game. It didn't really have any graphics like that. It was just buttons, effects, and stuff like that, right? So it was big because I created two main things from it, right? Because I was using two main modules, right? I was using Flax and I was using Thread, right? Yeah. So the Flash module, the Flash module was to process the information for the user, right? It was like a local server that other people will have to download. The servers app was a local server that will be sending and getting requests from different people, right? But people will have to download the server so then they can allow their friends to play on it, right? And then the reason I had to use threads is because back then I did not know what FlashSocket.io is, right? I never learned about it, and when I did find out about what Socket was, it was too complicated at that moment for me to really wrap my head around it. So what I did instead was this, I think, backhack, right? So instead of using FlashSocket.io, what I did instead was to make the user constantly sending requests to the server to get the incoming messages, right? So like every 30 seconds, not 30 seconds, every second the user was saying, oh, is there any message for me? The server will check his database and it said, oh yeah, there's so and so message for you, and then it was sent to the user. Like that's how I did it. And maybe it would have been easier if I was to use Socket.io, but back then it was like the most mind blowing thing I ever did. I was just like, shoot, it was crazy. So I moved on from that, right? And then the next project I ever did was when I really started getting into HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Because I was wondering, because when I first got into HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, it's not mind blowing because, hey, to me it was pretty simple, right? It had some simple logic behind it, right? Everything is apparent, like everything HTML is being constructed in parents, child, and grandparents kind of format, right? Doc, HTML, body, head. It's pretty simple to understand. Like wrap your hand around it. It's pretty simple, but to create something beautiful, like beautiful, and add logic and add background and be working in the background, adding database and stuff, and start working with that. That was when it got complicated, right? But that complexity is what really attracted me to it, right? So I would often do little projects because I remember the one project I did. I think it was called Code Anywhere. Oh my God, yes it was. So it was called Code Anywhere, and it was supposed to be a project where it would let you code online, then it would save it to your computer, so that way you can be accessing the files anywhere you go, type of thing, right? But the only problem with that was for you to be able to access the files anywhere, you will have to be online. You have to make the your computer that you want to access be available to anyone and everywhere. Because yeah, I'm sorry to break it to you, but that was unsafe. So that's why the only place I chose to access this was at home on my local server, right? But yeah, that was a big thing for me too, cause I've never really done a project like that, like. And then it was better because I used CSS and HTML to make it look good, and then I added some JavaScript libraries. I think like CodePen or Monkey Code or something like that, which was supposed to be a which was supposed to be to use to beautify the coding that's going on. Like not like my coding, but the coding of the different files. For example, if somebody wanted to code in Python on their site, right, the the library would beautify that. You know, add different coloring formats, add different formatting spaces and stuff like that. Basically, beautified it, and that looked good to me, right? And then the only thing I was not able to do, sadly, was to be able to run the projects, right? So like when somebody creates a file or do stuff like that, and then they want to run it to test it out, I can't do that. I didn't figure out how to do it, right? So it was all right. I think another thing I did was, let me see, yeah, invested. No, not GGI. That wasn't a big project for me because that's when I really got into. I was really crazy about AI, right? Because I've always been, to be honest, I've always been crazy about AI. That's probably why I started learning Python because I think my the urge to create a chatbot or a real chatbot, the one that you can talk to and talks to you back and have a real life conversation. It came from the first time I ever watched Iron Man because I remember him having a conversation with Jarvis and Jarvis replying back, and then them really like just having that type of vibe and connection. I really loved that, and I wasn't lonely, but I wanted that type of vibe, like to know that you created something. It'd be like your own child having a conversation with your child, type that type of thing. So yeah, I'm over here reminiscing about old projects. So what's new? What's new for me at least? Well, for one, I know I've been making a little. I haven't posted any update videos about Capitalist, which was meant to be a free-to-play online multiplayer game where people take the roles as either citizens or governments and build cities and stuff. I haven't been making updates. I mean, I'm still working on it in the background stuff and stuff because I did tell you that I was going to be giving it a side project energy, being that I will work on it, but I wouldn't put as much effort as I would in my main projects and stuff. So that's one thing I'm going to be working on next year. Another thing I'm going to be working very close on is publishing my projects, right? Because most times whenever I do run a project, what I often do is that yes, I would post it on GitHub, right? I'll post it on GitHub for my codes just to be out there, but I wouldn't really try to finance it, like trying to make something out of it. Instead of because most times I would just do a project but not do anything with it, right? 1 second. So what was I saying? Yeah. So I would do a project, but I would not do anything with it being that either I was too shy or I would be afraid my project was not worth showing the rest of the world. Because I know if I'm a perfectionist or something, that's why whenever I would never launch a project in a beta version until I know for sure there's nothing, absolutely nothing wrong with it. So that's what I gotta work on. I gotta be work on being able to put myself out there, myself and my project out there for the rest of the world to see. Because I worked on so much, right? I've done, at least to me, it seems like I've done so much. So I gotta really work on putting myself out there, my projects and stuff, so people can get to use it and experience what it's like to use something I made. Because that's the main reason I started programming. I wanted to make a difference in the world, whether that means doing small projects or just helping people out, like starters and stuff. So that's one thing I have to work out on. So which is why another reason I'm making this video, not only to talk about what I want to do next year, like what I'm really hoping for, because you can hope and then there's another thing to do it. What I'm really trying to shoot for next year is to be able to work on a project and see people using that project, which is why I'm making this video, to talk about the project I'm currently working on. So recently I made this project called Kid SMIT, right? The SMIT stands for support, motivate, inspire, and teach. The main point of the project was to serve as an online community for programmers, right? It was to serve as an online community for programmers to be able to talk and ask questions and post blogs, right? That's the main features of it, right? You can talk about things like chat, because we have a chat system. You can ask questions, and then you can post blogs about your new projects, and then you can also make a post about the projects you're working on, right? So that's the main point. So that's the main point of Kismet. It's supposed to be an online community. So I want to work on that this year, next year. I want to be able to grow that community because it's something. It's a passion project for me. I want to be able to grow it and see it grow and see how much people it has helped in 2022. And based on that amount of people that it has helped, maybe even just one person, if I was able to make a difference in one person's life, I will keep the project running. That's the goal for next year. Being able to grow Kid SMIT and see what I can do with it. I'm not even thinking of it in a financial version because I don't care about that right now. What I care about is making a difference because that's what I want to do. So if I'm able, I will put the link in the description. If I am able to, I would want my goal for next year to be two things. Being able to put myself and my project out there for other people to use and judge is the first one. 1 second. That's my goal for next year. Being able to put myself and my project out there for people to be able to use and judge and give me comments on it so I can know and I can personally grow in things. That's the first goal. The second being that I want to work on Kid SMIT. I want to see where I can go with this, right? If it grows to something big, good. If it doesn't, I understand. As long as I'm able to make a difference in somebody's life. So yeah. How about you all comment down, here goes in the description, for 2022. And I'll see you later. Peace.